Hi everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Ange Headlam and I'm the Membership and Community Coordinator here at Diabetes Australia. Today's webinar is with Beck McPhee, who a lot of you may know. Beck is an accredited practicing dietitian and health coach with over 20 years experience working with all people living with all types of diabetes, and works with us on the United team here at Diabetes Australia. She also writes some articles for our magazine and newsletters. If you have any questions throughout this webinar, please pop them into the Q&A or the chat area. I'll keep an eye on this and let Beck know of any questions that come through while she's making her presentation. It's wonderful to see you all here today. I'll just read out our acknowledgement of country. Diabetes Australia acknowledges Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people as the traditional owners and custodians of this country. Today I'm coming to you from Nipaluna country, Hobart, of the Palawa people in Lutruwita, Tasmania. We recognise their connection to land, waters, winds and culture. We pay the utmost respect to them, their cultures and to their elders past and present. We extend that respect to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here today. We recognise that Australia is made up of hundreds of different Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander groups, each with their own histories, culture, language and belief systems. Their relationship and country remains of utmost importance, and it is the foundation for culture, family and kinships, songlines and languages. Diabetes Australia is committed to improving health outcomes for all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people affected by diabetes and those at risk. And with that said, I will now hand over to Beck. Today's presentation is going to be on low GI and diabetes. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to pop them in the chat, as I said, or the Q&A session. Beck also, for your information, did work with the GI Foundation as well, just so she's very knowledgeable on all things low GI. So I will now put myself on mute and hand over to Beck.
Well, a bit of pressure there, Edge. I don't know everything, so expect little and be pleasantly surprised. But look, thank you all for joining us today. And we did have a wee chat 2 weeks ago about the GI, but it's such a popular topic. It's something that we frequently present, but also, as Ange asked before, about what would suit you in terms of times and days. So those of you who are online, for some of you, you may know a lot about the GI, but maybe it's just a refresher. For some, you might be newbies when it comes to diabetes and you'd like to take on some tips. Or for some of you, you may know it all, but perhaps you're not sticking to everything, because we're all human beings, aren't we? And I don't think anyone has perfect behaviours, I don't. So sometimes when we listen to these webinars, it's a chance to take on little tips and perhaps add them to your life, because there's so much misinformation out there, especially when it comes to carbohydrate. And this presentation is a general presentation about the glycemic index in terms of how much you need to eat if you have diabetes. It really is an individual on individual basis. So that's where you might touch base with myself on the online forum, or maybe with your accredited practicing dietitian and diabetes educator. So just putting it out there, it's not a one size fits all. But let me get the presentation up. And those of you who know me know I like to keep casual. I learned so much from members, so I'd love to hear from you, tips that you have, or any questions. Let me see if I can get the presentation. Can you all see this? I'm going to do it into slideshow.
Yeah.
Slideshow. There we go. How's that, guys?
Yeah, great.
Lovely. So I'll start off with just a very brief definition of what is the glycemic index, because often when I speak to people, whether they've got diabetes or not, people often say it sounds all a bit complex, it's about numbers. But really, all the glycemic index is a ranking of how quickly or slowly a carbohydrate affects blood glucose levels. And so we categorise it into three: high GI, medium GI and low GI. So high GI foods, when you eat them, digest very, very quickly. And if you can think about how they digest quickly, they're going to be absorbed very quickly, causing a very big spike in your blood glucose levels. And I love this graph. I've used it for years and years and years, because I'm a visual person. Many people I see are also visual. And you can see with the blue the blue line here, it's a real peak. So after an hour, you're going to get a big spike in blood sugars. So imagine what that's going to do with your pancreas producing insulin. It's going to have to produce lots and lots more. Or if you're on insulin, injecting insulin or on a pump, maybe it's not going to be doing its job very well. So what we want is more of that steady rise in blood glucose levels, a gentle rise over the 2-hour period. And that's what's low GI. But how do we measure it? It's a ranking from 0 to 100. So the higher the number, the higher the GI. So don't worry about the numbers as such, but it's just for your information if you are reading about it, that anything 70 or more is high. So things like jelly beans is 100. So think about if you have diabetes type 1, or maybe you're on insulin type 2, and you need to carry a hypo management kit. You'll be going for something like jelly beans, which has a GI of 100. Yep. Anything that's low is 55 or less. So what you wouldn't be packing is a slice of Bergen whole grain bread for your hypo kit, because that's going to digest very, very slow and not going to get into the system very quickly. We would be using a low GI snack after you've treated the hypo. So you can see that high GI foods, there is a place for high GI foods. They're not all bad, and we're going to go through that, okay? And then medium is anything between 56 and 69. So that's for your information, and I'll come back to that point because there is a website that you can check out if you're interested in finding more about this. So if you've been newly diagnosed or you find that it's getting quite confusing, the first thing to think about is not to panic. It's not cutting out the carbohydrates in the diet, it's swapping it, don't stop it. And as I said in this introduction, everyone's different. Some people will be cutting down carbs quite a lot. Other people will be just making small modifications. But this summary of high and low GI foods gives you an idea of where to swap. So on the left-hand side, you've got high GI foods, and there's a bit of a theme. Anything sort of white and processed, you think about when you chew it, there's not much chewing involved, it kind of melts in your mouth. And then it will digest quickly. So think about a slice of white bread. You can, if you take the crust off and you roll it into a ball, it's quite small. You can see it doesn't really fill you. So it's easy to overeat your high GI carbs. So for example, the flaky cereals, it'd be very easy to have a bowl of cornflakes and then a couple of slices of white bread. And that's far too much carbohydrate. So from a weight loss point of view, your body needs to use more insulin to take that glucose into the cell. So if we're wanting to lose weight, we want to get those insulin levels down. How we can do that is not getting rid of bread, we can swap it. So you could go for something that's more of a whole grain or authentic sourdough. So anything really, really heavy, you'll find that it really fills you and sticks to your ribs, as my mom would say. So for example, for breakfast, you could ditch the double carby, which I call cereal and toast together is double carby. So if you find that you're eating low GI really, really well, and you think you're eating healthy and the sugars are still high, maybe it's choosing one type of carb. So ditch the cereal and maybe try toast one day and have one slice of your sourdough or a whole grain toast rather than two, and put some eggs on top. We're going to come back to that point about protein because that really helps to slow down that breakdown to blood glucose in your blood. So you can see you're not cutting it out, you're swapping. You can get low carb bread alternatives as well. And the same with the cereals. Think of that old-fashioned oats to make granola or muesli. I've got one. You look on the forum, there's my high-protein granola, and you're using nuts and oats. Really, really filling, and you don't need much to keep you going. You can see here with potato, the poor potato copped a beating over the years, and we know that white potato is high GI, but it's still a very healthy vegetable. It's fed the Irish population for how many years? Yeah. So it is quite high in vitamin C and fibre. So we are able to find in Australia lower carb potatoes such as charisma. And it's not low GI, they are lower GI. And you can use charisma potato or sweet potato. And there are other ways to keep lowering that. So I'll come back to that point. You can see rice noodles and couscous and rice. If you come from a culture where it is predominantly rice, it's one of your staples, you swap it for basmati rice. Think of legumes like lentils and chickpeas. They're like $1 a can. Putting that into casseroles and soups will give you some good fibrous carbohydrates. You've got rice crackers, water crackers, crisp breads. Think of those thin wafy crackers. They're great for cheese platters. Okay, now, but you don't have to get rid of the crisp breads, but they're really good for a cheese platter when you're entertaining. But if you want to sit in the afternoon to kill 3 o'clock-itis, you want something that takes a while to chew, like a Vita Wheat or something grain. Maybe put a bit of cheese on top. Yep. And you can see here lollies, so pure glucose, perfect to treat a hypo. Okay, but the sugars that are lower GI, which you believe are low GI honeys, such as the wildflower and yellow box, and pure maple syrup. So in baking, one of my muffin recipes uses 2 tablespoons of low GI honey and a handful of chopped prunes or blueberries. So just because it's sweet does not mean it's high GI. It does come down to portion. Are there any questions so far? Because I'm going to go through and then please check me at any time. I've got a little activity coming up, which I'm very curious to see how you all go. But so Ange, just stop me anytime. So the next question people ask me, because we know that GI, the glycemic index, is about carbohydrates. Does that mean it's low carb? And the answer is no. So low carb, as I said before, looks at the quantity of carbohydrates, so how much you eat. Whereas low GI looks at the quality of carbohydrates. So remember before, think about quality high GI carbs, quality low GI carbs as those whole grain products that have been not tampered with as much, so less processing. So think of the Industrial Revolution. Before that, people were making their sourdough breads, their soda breads. And then with the Industrial Revolution, we got very clever and pounded the grains and made soft, white, fluffy breads, which was considered quite wealthy back then as well. If you had the soft, fluffy bread, that was from the supermarket. So think about the quality as in terms of fibre and whole grains. So as I said before, we're not getting rid of them, we're just swapping, and everyone's going to be different as to how much they have. So I've got a little activity for you all. I just wish I could see everyone. I think I'm going to see if I can widen the screen. No, I can't. That's okay. I might just escape from that and see. That's okay. Optimize. That's okay. I can only see a few faces, but that's fine. Here's the activity. So, which food is low GI? So could people put in the chat, or maybe you can call it out, I don't mind. Plain rice crackers versus canned pineapple in juice. So, you know, and I've chosen canned because, do you know what? We've all felt the pinch with the cost of living. Am I right? And I think we're very lucky in Australia at the moment. There's lots of fruits that are available, but in the next couple of months, there'll be less and it'll be quite expensive. So I put canned fruit in there because it's something that possibly we will eat. So rice crackers versus pineapple in juice, which one is low GI? I'm going to stop sharing because I want to see everyone's lovely face. Oh, I can see everyone now. Don't be shy. Oh, Anita, canned pineapple is lower GI.
I think.
Anyone else? Does everyone else agree or disagree? I'm going to give you 5 seconds. Anita, ding, 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 is right. Now, why is that?
I thought it was because the pineapple would have more fibre in it, and so it would be take longer to digest.
Correct. So pineapple has higher fibre, so you're absolutely right. But also it's got fructose, and fructose is a low GI sugar. Now, there is a lot of information out there about fructose contributing to weight gain. Yes, if you eat too much, you will gain weight with any type of sugar. But fructose itself is a low GI sugar. So that's why low GI honeys, the floral ones, tend to be high in fructose. It is a lower GI sugar. Okay, so I've got it written down here that canned pineapple has a glycemic index of 43. So remember I said anything less than 55? Now, fresh pineapple is a bit higher, but the canned pineapple, I got the one I chose, and I'll tell you which website I got it from. It's just Woolies canned pineapple in juice, 43. Now, rice crackers has a GI of 91.
Ooh.
And the reason why I use that, because I've been in diabetes for years, and that whole concept of anything sweet is going to break down quickly is incorrect. We know that jelly beans, yes, is a type of, is glucose, and that's sweet, that's going to be rapid, but not all sweet things, okay? And think of it's from nature, okay? Think of fruit is from nature, so it's not a bad thing. But rice crackers, if you do have celiac disease, we know that there are going to be times where you eat rice crackers, or maybe you like that when you're entertaining. Putting a bit of cheese on top is going to slow it down. I'll come back to that point because fat and protein play a role in slowing down that digestion absorption of carbohydrates. So you can be very clever with food combining. So the next one, sweet corn versus wholemeal bread. Sweet corn, so that can be in on a cob or in the can. Sweet corn versus wholemeal bread. What's low GI? And just take a punt. There's no right. Well, there is a right and wrong answer, but we don't always. I did this with GPs. The last presentation I said to the group, I did this with GPs when I was working in the UK, and they were fascinated, absolutely fascinated. They said, no, there's no sugar in the rice crackers because it's just about information and knowledge, isn't it? And they were absolutely amazed and took home those points so they could recommend to their patients. Here we go. So wholemeal bread is lower GI. Do people agree with that? Agree, disagree? I'm going to give you 5 seconds.
Oh, thought you.
Okay, have a sip. Everyone have a little sip while they're waiting. Do you know that the sweet corn is lower GI? Put that in there because of the name sweet. Now, wholemeal bread, it really depends on the baker, but the one I chose was just a supermarket wholemeal bread, a processed one, okay, your generic one. People often find when they're diagnosed with diabetes, they'll say, I'll cut out the white bread and go to wholemeal bread. You are right, you are lowering the GI because pure white bread, the one where you can roll up in a ball, has a GI of 100. Wholemeal bread, the supermarket processed one, has a reading of 78. So you around about. So you are lowering it a bit, and well done, you're increasing the fibre. So whenever patients say to me, I've gone from white to wholemeal, I go, good on you. That's higher in fibre, well done. And not everyone can eat the grains. They may have diverticulitis. They may have had bowel surgery. They may get seeds caught in their teeth. So if you have wholemeal bread and your blood sugars are okay, it is okay because it's not a bad food. Yeah, wholemeal bread is not a bad food, but there are better choices if you find your sugars are still up. But sweet corn, the name sweet corn, because it tastes sweet, doesn't mean it's high GI. So sweet corn has a reading of 48, whether it's tinned or corn on the cob. And wholemeal bread has a reading of 78. So 70 and above is high, 55 and less is low. Let's go to the next one. Oh, this is an interesting one. Pear, so just your normal pear. I've chosen pear because coming into autumn and they're going to be plentiful and delicious. But do we eat them? That's the question. Pear versus wheat bix. Pear versus wheat bix. Tricky one.
Well, pear's sweet, but it's fibrous. So does that make it better?
Hey. Is that you, Marie?
Yeah.
Yep, that's right. So I like how you're thinking, guys. Yep, fibre. It's sweet, but what type of sweetness do you think it is? So it's fibre, like Anita was saying before. So you're right, Marie, fibre. But what type of sweetness?
Fructose?
Yeah, there'll be fructose in it. So would pear be low or high GI then? Okay, wheat bix is low GI, so that's Anita. Any other takers? So pear is low GI. It has a reading of 33.
Wow.
So your guys are right. So Anita and Marie said about fibre. And there are different types of sugars in the matrix, the sugar matrix of a piece of fruit, but one of the sugars is fructose, which is low GI. So pear is 33. And wheat bix, I just wrote it down, 69.
69, was it?
Yep, let me have a look, 69. Write that down.
Oh, okay.
I can't understand my handwriting, that's terrible. But you see, I don't know the exact numbers because I'll show you the website in a minute. It depends on which country it comes from. So the Brits call it Weetabix. Canada has a different variation of wheat bix and we have a different variation. But wheat bix is like a medium GI. Again, I'll see people and they'll say, I cut out cornflakes, which is a reading of 77, and I've gone to wheat bix. Well done, you've increased the fibre. Okay, so wheat bix is not a bad food. Just making people aware, if you find do you know what? I cut out the cornflakes and I'm on the Weetabix. And why is my sugar high? Maybe swap to something else, like their rolled oats. Or maybe if you don't like rolled oats, some of my clients will say, it reminds me of my childhood porridge. We've all damaged, or with milk, you know, if you've ever had the milk delivered to you at school where it was warm. So maybe try the slice of toast with eggs or something. And that's where using in the forum, ask questions, do experiments. Testing your sugars is not about looking at good and bad readings. I never see it as a good or bad reading. It's a number to show us what's going on. Is it the food? Is it illness? Do I need to see my credentialed diabetes educator to tweak the medication? Is it the hot weather? Is it poor sleep? Is it stress? So be a detective. The best and the easiest way, the best way to start, the easiest point to start would be looking at the diet. And if it's not the diet, go to the next one. So pears are here to stay. But if you eat an orchard, right? If you eat 3 pears in one hit, then remember, portion, quantity. So we've got quality pear. So you could have a sliced pear in a salad with walnuts, some chicken. Yep, that would be the carbohydrate source. So if you want to vary it rather than having a sandwich every day, you could choose a pear, and that would be sufficient carbohydrate. So a small pear would be about 15 to 20 grams. It's enough carb. Put your protein in there, put some nuts, olive oil and vinegar. Presto. So you can vary how you eat things. Let me just have a look at the next one. Oh, that's it. Okay, let me go to current slide. Can you see that, guys?
No.
Oops. Well, that's not good, is it? Let me share the screen. Oh. And could you put the presentation up? It's just gone away.
You've lost it? Sure, let me find it.
Gone away. So I'm going to show you. Well, actually, while you're doing, yes, if you put it up, I'm going to show you the website from Sydney University, where you can use the search engine there to look at all the different foods they have tested in their lab. So it is a scientific tool, the glycemic index. It's not just people pluck it out of the air. So it's a scientific measure. So I'll give you the website. And if you're not sure, you know, you don't have to get fixated with numbers as such, but if you're just not sure about a particular fruit or a cereal, use that website. They have lots of good articles about the glycemic index. I use it all the time. I did it this morning because I know categories low, medium, or high, but I'm a bit rusty with the numbers. You can't know the number of every carbohydrate food, but it's a really good website for you to be a bit of a detective and find out about the glycemic index. So I'll get Ange to bring that up. But the search engine's great, and then they'll tell you products from Canada or America or Australia. So if we go to slide 5.
Okay.
One before.
Is that up now?
Yep. The one before.
Excellent. Worked out.
Thank you. She's my wing lady. You need a wing lady.
Now, are we
Go
on
back
the right
to the slide.
slide there? I think that was the thing I brought up, the one after the questions there.
Can you go with the questions? Because there's a website there. Go back. Yeah, here we go. So if you Google GI search glycemic index, you'll find their website, and then you can use the search engine. Yep. And we'll send this presentation to you all after the talk.
Oh, great.
But it's a great little tool to use. And that's what I did this morning. So I thought, let's do a little quiz. And I was, always pleasantly surprised. Next slide. So if you are trying to help maybe someone in your family to change to low GI, and they might think, well, who cares? What are the benefits? Here are the benefits. And there's lots and lots of research over the years about how low GI carbs can help us. So we know from a diabetes point of view, remember the curve? The curve is the best way to look at what low GI foods do. It gives you a gentle rise, and that's a great way to explain to someone. You're getting a gentle rise over time, and therefore more of a gentle rise in insulin. We don't want your pancreas, so with type 2 diabetes, you're still producing insulin, but maybe not enough, or maybe not as efficiently as it should. So we want to preserve that pancreas and make that insulin work better. So not these big spikes of sugars all the time from high GI foods and big amounts of carbs. We want smaller amount of carbs and more of a gentle rise. And the same with type 1 diabetes. If you're injecting into a pump, we want to make sure there's less of these peaks and troughs over time. And the same with weight loss. If you think about these foods that I've been mentioning, whole grain breads and fruit with fibre, it takes a while to chew, it digests slower, and it fills you, which is called satiety, that feeling of fullness. So who ever finds that if they're hungry, you could eat quite a few of those rice crackers, which I love. You could eat quite a few of those. Oh, you could down quite a few compared to maybe eating a whole pear or a few whole grain crackers with a bit of cheese. So can you see, for weight loss, if you're choosing low GI, you are also portioning your diet. Heart health. So we know that a lot of the foods high in fibre can help low cholesterol levels, reduce inflammation. And gestational diabetes, that's diabetes when you're pregnant. The interesting thing is it can prevent excessive weight gain. We don't want too much weight gain during pregnancy. We're not eating for two, okay? It's about eating a small amount more, but having those healthy low GI carbs so that the baby's not feeling all this glucose, okay? And so the interesting fact is if women choose low GI during pregnancy and manage their weight in a healthy way, they can reduce their child's future risk of putting on too much weight, type 2 diabetes and chronic disease. You're passing it on to the baby. So isn't it amazing? And it's just a this for that approach, healthy eating. Don't forget that a lot of these low GI foods are high in vitamins and minerals. So I've said this in many of my talks, and I'll keep saying it again. We're not just talking about diabetes. We are all at risk of cancers, dementia, and all those chronic diseases. And the research shows that incorporating more plant foods in the diet can help with lowering our risk of cancers, including bowel cancer. Okay, reducing inflammation, so reducing the risk of dementia. So it's that Mediterranean diet. Okay, so think that way. Think whole food in the right portions to suit you. So yeah, not only are you looking at managing blood glucose levels, you're also reducing the risk of cancer. Don't ever forget that. Next slide, Ange. Any questions so far? Has anyone seen the meal plans? I've been creating meal plans every month. There's lots of articles. Make sure you look online, the members forum. There's lots and lots and lots of resources for you. But if you would like to contribute a recipe, or you have a recipe and you want to, and you say, Beck, I don't know how to make it more lower GI, send it, please. I love ideas. I had a client, the last presentation I did, she sent me a beautiful recipe and I've modified it and I'll put that on my next meal plan. So please give me ideas. I love to hear from all of you. We talked about portion caution, quantity counts. So here is just using your hands, okay, keeping it simple. If you're just starting out with modifying carbs, use the fist. This is the fist size of what the grain should be, about a fist size of rice, which is not a lot. So anyone who's seen my videos, you know when you have stir fry, it's easy to put the noodles on or the rice and then put the ingredients on top, or pasta, big bed of pasta. We get the bed of carbs and add the protein and veg first, and then a scoop of carb on top. So therefore, eating with your eyes, you're seeing a nice scoop of rice or noodles, but not that massive bed, and that's where you're going to get that blood glucose spike. And then people will say, oh, well, that food's not low GI. Actually, the basmati rice is. Maybe it's the quantity that spikes the sugars. Then maybe you've had that scoop of rice, but you followed with a piece of fruit straight after. That's a classic example I used to get. People would say, oh, I've had that burger and bread at lunch, and then I followed with a pear or an apple. Oh, my sugars went up. You said pears, good for you. It's too sweet. Double carbing, bread, fruit. So remember, the more carbs you have in one hit, the more likely you're going to go up. So the best thing to do is to have, let's say, your bread at lunch and then spread it, have the pear in the afternoon, maybe a bit of cheese. Yeah. So spread. Yeah. So whenever you think it's the food, always question, was it the portion? And remember other factors as well, stress, sleep, etc. So this is a really good guide to look at portions. And if you want to get really technical, at this size is about a half a cup cooked carbs. So sometimes, yes, Marie.
So I can ask a question. So the double carbs, so in the past, I've been having cereal and fruit. So that's a double carb.
Good question. That's Technically it is. However, if you've portioned it well, you might be okay. So for example, let's say you had some granola, some oats, and you put some berries on top, that should be okay. So the truth will be in your 2-hour reading after it. So thank you. That's a good point.
But
So
that's why I stopped eating it, because it was my blood sugars would go up when I would have it. So
you tell me what type of cereal and what fruit it was and roughly how much.
either Guardian or Wheat Bix.
Yep.
And usually berries. Sometimes half a banana, but sometimes just berries.
And a bit of milk on top.
Oh yeah, milk. So I'm triple carbing.
Triple cup. And it just sounds so, I feel like the food police, because it's such a, remember, it's a really good breakfast. And so what Marie's done well is she's gone, this is healthy, it's high fiber. I bet you that keeps you going until lunch. But the sugars are up, so she's ditched it and tried something else, whereas other people might get away with it. So what you could do is, are you happy with the breakfast you're having at the moment, or you miss having sort of cereal?
Look, I'd like to be able to have cereal, because when I'm traveling in my camper van, if I want a quick getaway, cereal's quick,
Yes.
quick and easy to.
Understood. What you could do, I think Guardian should be right. The Weetabix is a bit more medium GI, so it could be maybe, I don't know if you like Greek yogurt, but making like a berry yogurt crunch. So have some of the yogurt and put a handful of the Guardian on top and then berries.
Oh, okay, that's a good idea. Yeah, because like yesterday I had berry yogurt and berries and some crushed almonds on top, and that was yummy.
You could do, just going to say that you do the Guardian, less of the Guardian, but put the nuts in the Guardian with it and make it crunchy.
Okay, thank you.
My pleasure. And the other thing you can do is oats. So if you don't want Guardian, you can just take a handful of oats, nuts, and put it with the yogurt. You can soak it overnight like a birch muesli.
Yep. Okay.
But I like that idea with camper van. That's really important, because do you know what? With recommendations, we've got to be realistic and think, is this going to be realistic for my job? If you're working, I've dealt with a lot of airline hostesses. What can you eat that's going to be manageable? Or if you're caravanning, if you're working in an office. Yeah.
Yeah.
So trial and error. Totally.
An easy cleanup.
Exactly, I agree. And it's available, because you might be going to country towns. And my husband is currently working, he works FIFO, and the IGA available there, microwave rice is $7. So convenient foods is really expensive. So, it's, you want to take some things with you. Good question. Next slide. Ange, or is that me? Oh no, you're doing it. Okay, this is I really like to talk about, because there are ways to combine foods to get the blood sugars down. And so we've all established that fibre is one way to control the sugars. And I mentioned before adding beans or legumes to sauces and soups or salads. And as I said before as well, maybe adding a pear to your salad instead of, bread as an alternative. So fibre is key. And as Marie's beautiful breakfast, Weetabix is not bad with the fruit and the milk. For some people, it might go up. Acid, we've heard about adding acid that lowers the GI value of the meal. So if you add vinegar, lemon or lime juice, or even condiments to your meal, it can lower the GI response of a meal. So the research said 2 teaspoons, about 10 grams. So it's slowing the emptying process. So isn't that amazing? I mean, you look at cultures over the years, everyone in different cultures have been using some sort of fermentation or acids, because fermentation, think of sourdough bread also, that fermentation process counts in that acidity effect. It changes the structure of the bread. So you could have your whole grain toast in the morning, 1 slice or sourdough, your eggs, and a squeeze of lemon juice on top. You're lowering the GI of the meal. Or I had one lovely lady last time, Deb. Deb's great member. She's got type 1 diabetes, and she has the apple cider vinegar or lemon juice in some water before her meal. You do that too. Or have it on your salad. So you get the vinegars, ditch into those bottled sauces. Use rice wine vinegar, balsamic vinegar, apple cider vinegar. And on that point, sushi rice is considered, it's pretty high GI, however, or the short grain rice. But if you add the rice wine vinegar to the sushi rice, it's going to lower it by 20%. And then if you're going to add filling to it, so protein and add the carbs, lower it even more. I'll come back to that point. So adding acid to rice helps. Don't forget that point because it really makes a difference. And you can do experiments. Okay, one day when I had salad with the balsamic vinegar, what's the sugars like after it compared to the next day when you just did olive oil? Olive oil helps as well, but the winner is the olive oil and the vinegar together. Don't be scared of fat. Olive oil is very good for you. It slows it down. And again, this is something that people have been using for years, Mediterranean diet. Pasta. Pasta is one of those things that, yeah, look, it's very easy to overeat. Like I said, it's easy to put like a bed of pasta. But if you have an al dente, which we all know about, it's a firm bite, that keeps the GI a bit lower rather than overcooking it. But if you have just that small fist size, okay, that's going to reduce the quantity. You might start off with a salad with balsamic vinegar and olive oil, then have your pasta. Come back to that point in a minute because it's a way of food sequencing as well to lower the GI response to the meal. So pasta, I wouldn't ditch it. It's just being mindful of the amount. Some people find, you know what, I find it really hard to control the amount I eat or my sugars are always high. You might keep it for a special occasion. So please never feel that you can't go out to a restaurant and eat your favourite meal. That's 10% of the time. So just because you're going to go have a meal and eat something you like, expect a high sugar rise, get on with it the next day. Okay, you're no different from anyone else, but this is more of an everyday thing. So don't feel you have to go and eat low GI forever and ever. That would be very boring. Next slide, Ange. So back to the pasta and rice and potato point. It was heard that if you cook carbs, so potato, rice or pasta, and then you cool it, it can actually lower the GI. So it doesn't reduce the carb content as such. It increases resistant starch. So what that means is it resists digestion. Okay, so that means it's going to take longer to digest. So isn't that great? You will find if you have a scoop of mashed potato, your sugars are going to be higher compared to if you had a potato salad, a cold potato salad. If it's hot weather where you are in Australia, having a scoop of potato salad with your potato salad dressing, you're going to get a much better reading. Same with cold pasta salad. You've cooked the pasta and cooled it. You've cooked the rice and cooled it. You could have rice in a salad or pasta in a salad. Still looking at the quantity, but reducing it. It's cooled. Then add that olive oil, lemon juice, or vinegar. Again, you're going to lower it even more. So isn't that good news? You know, when people are diagnosed, often they think they have to get rid of their cultural foods. It's about swapping and looking at food combinations. Any questions? Does that sound doable for people? Are people already doing this? Or is it a good reminder?
That's good.
I have a question.
Didn't know about the acid. So. Sorry.
I have a question, Beck. So would that be the same as like your fermented like cabbage, like in your kimchi? Because that's fermented. Is that?
Very good point. Yes. So good point. And that's a probiotic. So definitely your kimchis or your fermented pickles are acidic. So if you add that to your meal, it's going to lower the GI, absolutely. And a really good way to do it. So, you know, in sushi, you've got sushi rice, adding your protein to it, and then your pickled ginger, another way of doing it. Again, you look at every culture, they've got their version of fermented, like sauerkraut. Germans have sauerkraut. Japanese have kimchi and Koreans. Yeah. Indian population have their own mango chutneys. The Italians have the olives, the bottled vinegar products, pickles, dill, cucumber pickles in Scandinavia. So absolutely. So you can see that food combining is the way of really managing those sugars because this is for life. So whenever anyone is looking at changing their diet, I always ask them, one of the first questions is this sustainable? So we're going to pace ourselves, not race. So if you're listening to this today and think, oh, there's lots I need to change, or I've just reminded myself I've got to go back and to the drawing board, don't think like that. Think of all the changes you need to make and write them down and pick one at a time and add up over time. Because what you don't want to get is what I call messy head syndrome. Too much going on, because that's going to increase the stress, and that's going to increase the sugars. So work on one thing at a time, add up over time. And it's not always the diet. Always think. Often people say, oh, it's my fault, something I ate. It may not be. It may not be. And what works for your neighbour might not work for you. So just like Marie did, she just went, you know what? It's given me a high reading, although it's a healthy breakfast, I'll swap to something else. Experimentation. Same with protein. This is a really good point because protein tastes good, but again, slows the digestion and absorption of glucose in the bloodstream, as does fat. So protein, traditionally we have protein with our meals, whether it's chicken, fish or meat, or tofu for veggie, yep, or eggs at brekkie, or you could have a tartar for lunch. And the same with fat, so good fats like avocado, tahini, olive oil, olives, nuts and seeds. So Marie was talking about having nuts on her Greek yogurt and berries. Perfect on those. So let's look at that combination. So Marie's got seeds and nuts on her breakfast cereal. That's a fat. That's slowing it down. She's adding Greek yogurt, high protein, and a low GI carb. And the berries, low GI carb as well. So it's a really good combination. And so you can see that, like I said before, with sushi, you've got sushi rice. If you're choosing sushi, go with ones with a lot of filling, like avocado, chicken or tofu or fish. Then you add the pickled ginger. That's going to be a perfect meal compared to if you just had rice by itself. The same with chips, would you believe? So cooking chips in olive oil, you can use your air fryer, a small handful of air fried chips. Add some vinegar on, like the old-fashioned, fish and chip shop. You're going to get a better reading. Keep the skin on, there's some more fibre. Use the charisma potatoes, but if it's not available where you are, or it's very expensive, use the humble spud and use less. If you find that you need to have potato-free days, so my mum is a potato lover, eats it most days, and if you think, oh, the sugars aren't coming down, maybe I need a potato-free day, you could even try sweet corn. We just learned it before. You could use sweet corn as your carb choice, or quinoa. You could even try cauliflower rice or cauliflower mash, which is just delicious to have as a mash alternative. You could use zoodles. So make zoodles, get the mandolin or potato peeler and peel off ribbons of carrot and zucchini and fry it in olive oil with a bit of spice. There's so many ways you can enjoy food and make your meal low GI most of the time. Like I said, it's your birthday or you're going out to a restaurant, eat what you like. Hey, this is 90% of the time. We want you to be able to live as well and enjoy life. Any questions or comments? Is anyone sort of thinking, oh, maybe that's why my sugars went up, or maybe that's why I got a good sugar reading because I've been doing food combining? Any questions about it? Food sequencing, there was research done because people have asked me, do you eat carbs first? What is there a difference if you eat carbs first as opposed to eating carbs last? Excuse me. The research has shown that if you eat protein or vegetables first and then the carb, that's going to lower their GI response for the meal. Let's think about it. Not in the traditional British meal sense, like my mum will serve potato, meat and vegetables. Like maybe just if it's on your plate, eat the protein and veg first, then eat the carbs. But like the Italians, often they'll have different courses like the French or Europeans. So they might start off with a big salad, with the vinegar and olive oil. Then you might have your chicken, let's say your protein, make it have some sort of protein, and then you have a small bowl of pasta. So you can see the food sequencing really can have an effect. And think about it, if you've eaten the protein and veg first, you don't want much of the carb. But if you start with the carb first and you're really hungry, I could eat a big bowl of pasta when I'm hungry. Yeah. So think of it that way. It's not cutting it out. It's just being clever with how you present the meal. And like I said, if you have a traditional sort of British meal where you've got it all on the plate, just see if you can eat the protein and veg first. Do an experiment and see if it works. It may not make a difference. Remember, it's not an absolute, but these are some little tips that you can take away that might just make that difference. And then by the time you come to your next HbA1c 3-month blood sugar level, that small change you make consistently every day may actually reduce the overall result.
There's
I have a
couple of-
question. Oh,
Oh,
go
yep.
ahead.
No, Greg, you go ahead. And Beck, there's a
Yeah.
couple of questions in
Oh,
the
good.
Q
I
and
haven't seen
A
it.
for
Oh,
you
good.
when you
I
get
haven't
when
seen
Greg
them.
asks his questions.
Sorry, I
Okay.
haven't seen that.
Sorry, I joined late. Just why is olive oil good? You probably already said it.
Yeah, olive oil, good question, is a monounsaturated fat. So it's a good fat that can help with heart health. So any type of fat, Greg, will slow down the blood sugar. So whether you have
Okay.
nuts, olive oil, or butter. But in terms of from a heart health point of view, olive oil has those monounsaturated fats, which the research has shown is good for heart health.
Good. Okay, thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And Jock, good point. Peanuts are legumes, but do they have the same effect as real nuts? Oh, I love that, Jock. Yeah, look, peanuts are technically legume. And isn't it interesting, like when you look at different foods, tomatoes are technically a fruit, but we really eat them like a vegetable, don't we? But they are really good low-carb fruits. But peanuts are technically a legume, yes. Do they have the same effect as nuts? They would be a bit, I'll have to check the numbers, be a bit higher in carb than the other nuts, but they would act the same as other nuts. So it's a really good point. So if you're having peanut butter, so you know the 100% peanut butter or almond butter, if you spread that on your bread, that's going to lower the GI response because it's a good fat. So definitely, or peanuts in your satay. So again, if you're doing an Asian stir fry, adding a handful of nuts or making a satay, that's going to, again, lower the GI response of a meal. So I'm just looking again. So can you talk about how excess protein becomes glucose after some delay? Oh, that's a really good point. I'd probably have to look up that one to give you the more technical answer. But, you know, it's a good point, John, because when people, for example, have type 1 diabetes, I've had many questions about this excess protein. Often we say protein's zero carb, so you don't need to give insulin. But there's a certain amount of protein that we eat, if it's a lot of protein, that will affect the blood sugars and convert to glucose. So I'm going to write that one down for you, Jock. And I know you're online, so I'm going to post something after this. I'll just write down the question, and I want to look into the research a bit more to give you more of a technical answer. But excess protein is something that can be very frustrating for people with type 1 because, you know, you can't consider it as a free food. Free food meaning not affecting blood sugars. So if you have an excess amount, it's about over 50 grams or something, it's going to convert to glucose. How the mechanism works, I'm going to get back to you. But thank you. It's a really good question.
Too much protein turns to glucose.
Yeah, we're taking protein, you are all the time. Every morning. You're better off to leave that off. Anything with high protein bars.
Good one. You host. Oh, my pleasure, Jock. So these are the questions. So, gosh, we've only got 6 minutes too. These questions, please keep asking in the members forum because it gives Ange and I, in particular, my wing lady, ideas for presentations. Yeah, it's really, really, really good. Keeps us thinking, keeps us up to date with the research. Is there another slide, Ange? Oh, he's putting it all together. Now remember, this is just an example. Everyone's different. So breakfast, a slice of sourdough, remember, fermented, the acid, fat on top, avocado and 2 eggs, and more acid lemon. You've got about 15 to 20 grams of carbs there. That's a reduced carb. Breakfast, lunch, as I said before, you might be experimenting with fruit as your carb source. So the chicken burger salad, I love this one. Cooked chicken. If you're on the road like Marie is, you could get a barbecue chicken, take some chicken, shred it, add some lettuce and celery, chop up a small apple, handful of walnuts, and then do your little dressing on top. If you don't have the Greek yogurt, you could use a bit of mayonnaise with a bit of lemon juice. So rather than using lots of mayo, I'll get some mayonnaise and add a bit more of the lemon juice to thin it out. And a snack, you could have a couple of whole grain crackers with a bit of cheese, tomato. You could have maybe Greek yogurt with berries and add your seeds or nuts, or just your handful of nuts or seeds with a piece of fruit. Or you could even have a slice of that cheese, wedge of cheese with your fruit as a happy hour snack. Who likes the happy hours?
Mm.
And then dinner, this is just an example, hidden veggie bolognese. So we're all on a budget. So this would just be lean mince. I tend to use the lean pork mince. For some reason, my daughter and my husband eat it more than the lean beef mince. So I use lean pork mince, lots of grated veggies. So I'm getting some carb from that. So zucchini and grated carrot and garlic and onion. Then I add a can of brown lentils. So that's where the carb source comes from. A couple of cans of tinned tomatoes, a splodge of red wine and herbs. And that will give you around 16 grams of carb per serve. And it's so, like, when you give yourself a portion, there's no room for the rice or pasta. Compared to, remember, if you have that big bed of rice or pasta and you put a small amount on top, you're not going to get the actual serve of protein and veg. So this is a very high protein meal, very cheap. I reduced the amount of the meat, still a good amount, and then add the lentils. You're getting about 16 grams, which is the same as a slice of bread. You are full. So from this example, this is a lower, not completely low carb. Some people are on a keto low carb diet of 20 grams. For me, if you find that your blood sugars are okay, but you want to lose the weight, this would be a great option. It's reduced carb, not super low carb, because what I've put in here are those real important, I'm not going to say superfoods, I think that's an overused word, but really important plant foods to help reduce that risk of bowel cancer, to help reduce the risk of all those chronic diseases. And you can see it's just all whole food that our ancestors have been eating for years. And if you eat like that most of the time, then you can go out to a restaurant and enjoy yourself now and then. Questions or comments or ideas? And if you find you don't like to speak online here, I totally get that. Join me on the members forum and ask me individually or post something and I can always answer questions. I've got Jock's question anyway, so I'll be online a bit later on today. I'll do a little bit of research and get back to you. But we'd love to hear from you. And you know, everyone's busy and we will appreciate you taking the time to tune in as well. So a thumbs up there.
Thank you,
From
Bev.
Elizabeth, I think.
Yes, I'm not able to partake in the chat, but I hope you can hear me. I'm saying thank you. That was very interesting.
Thank you. I can hear you loud and clear. Thank you.
I'll just add one comment. So the Coles low GI high seed bread does work as advertised. For me, it comes in a bit lower than sourdough for GI. So try it. It's not bad.
Good to know. Good to know, Greg. Was that you, Greg?
Yeah, yeah.
Great. And keep, you know, there's so many products in the supermarket, and especially, I know with IGAs, they all vary with their products. So yeah, keep posting anything that you find, so then other people know as well. Because manufacturers are getting pretty clever now. They realise that people are wanting to have a bit less carb in the diet, low GI options. So there's a lot of manufactured breads coming out. Yep. So keep us posted.
I'd love to hear if there's any lowish GI fruit bread.
The real heavy, I'll have to get the brand, but the really heavy whole grainy one. I've forgotten the name. It used to be a Dutch fruit
I
loaf.
haven't been able to find anything. I don't know where to buy it.
Is it Bergen? Is that the
Bergen has one.
Do
Don't
they?
know. I'll
Haven't
have to
seen
have a
it.
look at hang on. They used to have it. Whether they have it anymore,
I
it was
have
like
a
a whole
feeling they
grain fruit.
stopped. Am I remember rightly? Yeah.
Let me have a look for you. I'll post that as well.
Okay.
Do you know,
Thank you.
my pleasure. Traditional sourdough fruit loaf, that would be low GI, but then it's just having a small slice. So I would recommend having it small and then put some fat on top. So like 100% peanut butter or maybe a bit of butter or something, or cheese. Some people have fruit bread with cheese, but keep it small.
Something I've learnt today. I've been avoiding butter.
That is fine.
I'm going to use it now.
It's just caution. You know, like
Okay.
saturated fat. We all should be watching the amount, but again, it's the quantity. I'd much prefer someone to have a good quality butter and a small amount, than Lashins of margarine. So it's. I say this time and time again. If your great grandmother was here today and looked in your fridge or cupboard, if they don't recognise something that you're eating, then don't. There you go. The butter, everyone eat butter, olive oil. Keep it simple. Yeah.
Doesn't seem to.
Yeah, Jock, Bergen wholemeal and grains bread. Yeah, excellent. Yeah, Jock, you're right. The Bergen wholemeal and grains is lower carb and really high fibre. It's a real good one.
That drink you have, I mean, it must be all right.
Ricotta on top of a fruit bread's really nice too. Again, protein on top. Ricotta fruit loaf. I'll look for you, Marie, and I'll post it online as well.
Is the soylene still okay? I was told to eat
Yeah.
soylene. Yeah.
It's a good one, especially the burger one. But again, there's some supermarket breads that are really big like this. You can't even fit them in the toaster, and they're really big. And then they give you about 40 grams of carb with 2 slices. So go for the smaller one.
Yeah, no, I get the Bergen. I like the
Perfect.
Bergen. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, it's a good one. It's been around for years, and it's filling.
Yeah.
Soylene's great.
Okay. Now, I learnt yesterday that we're supposed to have about 16, is that right? 16 exchanges or something? How many carbs, how many serves of carb a day?
That's a really good, that's a $6 million question. So one
Right.
exchange for everyone is 15 grams of carbs. And to
Right.
think about it, one exchange is 1 slice of bread or a piece of fruit. Yeah.
Yeah.
How many you have, everyone is different. But per meal, if you're starting off with just modifying carbs, 2 exchanges or 30 grams is ample per meal. Some people have more. So 30 grams and then a snack in between is about 15 grams. So if you look at my example, the breakfast is between 15 and 20 grams. I'm just using 1 slice of toast for adding the good fats and egg. And then lunch is about 15 to 20 grams. So I've been a bit clever and reduced it a bit. But your Bergen bread, small, I think like Jock said, the wholemeal seeds and grains, 2 slices is actually quite low. You get low carb ones, it's fine. But how many 16 exchanges? No, that'd be too many. I'd say.
I think I've misunderstood.
No, you're grand. No, that's always message me as well online. But 2 exchanges maximum per meal. Some people might go up to 3. But if you're looking at modifying the carbs, 2 maximums is 30 grams.
There's only 9 exchanges for breakfast, dinner and tea because it's supposed to be 45.
Yeah, well, we got a menu yesterday and it had 16 carbs.
16. All right. Maybe I'll have a look at that.
Yeah, that's in the Carb Smart workbook.
Oh, so okay.
Maybe I've
send me.
misunderstood.
Do you want to send me a screenshot, Lovey? Just maybe if it's online, or I'll put my email in the chat here for your. Hang on a sec.
I might have misunderstood it. It might have been just a.
No, good. Really important for you to know. I'm going to put my email here. And guys, email me. I'll have a look. Take a screenshot, Marie, or just type it out and email me.
Where is it? I can't see it.
Just in the chat.
Can you see the chat, Marie?
No, I was in Q&A. I'm going back to chat now. I've been retired too long. I forget how to do everything. It says chat isn't available. I have no idea why that would be.
Oh no, it's in the Q&A.
Q&A? Okay, back to Q&A. I've got Jock and Jock.
I don't understand this.
Have you got a
Hang on, new
posts?
There it is.
I don't understand
Yeah.
it.
What's he saying?
Oh, 15 grams, we knew that is a lunch.
I can take a photo of it. It's probably easiest for me.
And meals are supposed to be 3 exchanges is 45.
So one exchange is 15.
Yeah, you're supposed to have that from in between, but then for lunch, dinner and tea was 45.
Yeah,
I think this was just an experiment because it says total numbers of CHO exchanges for this day.
They probably gave you a sample meal
2
plan.
slices of bread.
Sample is too much. Yeah. I'll look
everyone's
further.
different. Yeah, everyone's different, so how much you need. But
I have to review the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You sound like you're on track with what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm still learning.
Oh, we all are. We all are.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone. And look forward to seeing you next time. And I'll be online later on to post the couple of answers to your questions.
Thanks so much, Beck, and thanks everybody for joining us. My camera's not coming back on now. I've turned it off, which is great. Maybe if I click the button a few times. Oh, something's happened. Oh, we're working. Hi, I'm back. So I'll stop recording now. So thank you everyone for joining us. And I hope you got something out of that. And next week, hopefully, I'll get this up and loaded into Diabetes Connect so you can rewatch and catch up if there's anything that you missed. And when I do post it in Diabetes Connect, I can also make a post, let you know it's up. And to that post, I can also attach the presentation because I've got it here from Beck, so I can attach that so you all know it's there. Our next, just to let you know, I think she's actually left now. There was one of our other colleagues that was in the webinar, Susie, for a little
Susie.
while.
Yeah, she's
So
great.
our next webinar is actually with Susie. I think she just jumped in to see how they run because she hasn't done one for us before, I think in membership or not for a while. But Susie is an exercise physiologist. So our next webinar will be with Susie on exercise and diabetes. And that will be, I think it's on the 18th of March, but keep an eye out early next week. And I'll get that up in Diabetes Connect so you can book into that one as well. So that will, I think, will cover some at-home exercises that you can do and a few other bits and pieces and presentation that Susie will make. So we'll look forward to seeing you there.
What's that one called?
So that will be, you'll see that advertised, Marie, in Diabetes Connect, and it will be on exercise and diabetes, and it will be run on the 18th of March.
Thank you. I only found out about this one today.
Oh, you did well to get on. Well done.
It said tomorrow there'll be a workshop, so I thought it was